What's up? It's Alex from LearnBeachVolleyballFast.com here, and this is part 2 in my beach volleyball hand setting mini series. I brought an American ball today, one of them, sort of just to change things up, and why not? But you Europeans out there, if you don't recognize the ball, nope, it's not a soccer ball. It is a beach volleyball, and it's a quite nice one. So in this video we're gonna talk about ball release, and I'm gonna show you a very quick, simple, easy exercise that's gonna teach your body how to release the ball without having a double contact or a spinning ball. And then we're also gonna discuss a little bit about lifting and how to get rid of lifting. Just as a disclaimer on the double though, a double contact can technically happen when you catch the ball or when you release the ball. So even though you learned today's lesson and you release your balls cleanly with no spin and in one motion and one movement, you can still double contact the ball if you catch them with one hand before the other. So we'll talk about that in another lesson, but today is about the release, and we're gonna clean that up. Alright, so ball release. This is like the simplest exercise. It's almost too simple, but you can learn a lot from it. So all that I want you to do is have a beach volleyball, something that bounces the ball back for convenience, a wall or a volleyball net or something, and sort of just an open mind or a curiosity mind. And I want you to catch the ball as you would catch a handset. Something like that. I guess some people say that if you have one of these balls with this ball pattern, you have these 4 corners here and you can sort of hold that. That's a rough something. Doesn't have to be like that, but hands around the ball as much as possible. Hold your ball like that, and then I simply just want you to throw the ball into the wall like that. So like that. If you're not a hand setter that has done hand setting a lot and clean hand setting a lot, chances are that when you throw the ball like this, it's gonna spin in some way, either forwards, backwards, sideways, whatnot. So I want you to simply just observe the spin that happens on the ball and keep throwing it at the wall until you don't get any spin anymore. Just keep on doing repetitions, and you are most probably gonna see a pattern or a tendency. Some people have the tendency of the ball always spinning forward, and some people have it always spinning backwards, but it's usually the same and usually not like completely different spins on every throw. So I guess ultimately I would want you to like pause the video now and go to a wall and just try this out, and try to just put in an idea in your head that there's going to be no spin in the ball when you release it, and see if your body sort of adapts your hand release automatically until it becomes a no spin one. But I know you might be sitting at home at your computer and might be lazy to go to a wall, so I'll just explain it and you can try it later. Basically what's gonna happen is that these 4 fingers, your thumbs and your whatever fingers those are, English is not my first language, these 4 fingers, pointer fingers they are basically the last 4 fingers that's gonna leave the ball. So these 4 fingers have to leave the ball at the same time. If you would imagine a double door has 2 hinges, and as long as the double door is perfectly built, they're gonna be very equal in the angles. It's not gonna be like this or like that. A double door like that would have a bunch of air here, and it wouldn't be a good double door. So basically your 4 fingers have to work as a double door and release the ball at the exact same time. So if you do this, that means your thumbs are gonna have more force than your pointer fingers, which means that the ball is gonna spin backwards. Same if you do sort of like that, it's gonna spin forwards. And if you have just an uneven release, it's gonna spin sideways. So basically, if you're armed with this exercise and that double door knowledge kind of theory, and just an open mind, a non-judgmental mind, which I talk about in some sports psychology videos that I've done, where you sort of just observe what happens with the ball. You don't go like, shit, I suck at this every time the ball spins. You just go like, it's spinning, which way is it spinning? What can I do about that? And when you're armed with those three things, usually within just a few minutes, you're gonna be able to do perfect no spin ball releases within just a few minutes of practicing this. This is sort of irrelevant, but I'll add it here. Once you have done this exercise for the rest of your volleyball career, every time you're just throwing a ball to a friend, like, hey, it's your serve, here, take the ball, you will always be throwing these perfect non-spin throws, and it will always give you a little bit of satisfaction when you see the ball just go like shoo. But that's a side effect from doing this exercise. Okay, so let's imagine we fast forward a few minutes and you actually got your ass up from the chair and went and did this exercise, and now you can do perfect throws and with no spin. And you basically learn how to throw a ball with no spin, and it's not that hard. The secret is that it's not more difficult to handset. It is a little bit, there's a few details we have to also consider, but basically getting rid of the doubles, it's not much harder than that. If you have a very sweaty ball, if you're playing in very humid conditions, especially if you have the international FIVB in Casa ball. Whoa. Someone's beeping. You might be in trouble because the ball might get slippery. But if you have a dry ball and you have your hand position in right that we talked about in part 1, it's not much harder than just throwing the ball like this. So this means that I guess the second part of this exercise, you can simply just do the same thing. Let's see camera angle if it works. But just do it in a more an angle that you would actually do handset. So you just hold the ball and throw it right up and see if you can do it with no spin. And after that, you just put 1 and 2 together and take your hand positioning either with the hand sync or without, and catch the ball and throw the ball. It's quite simple. Okay, so let's talk about lifting for a second, because I guess there's more faults than the double contact that you can do on the handsets, which is also lifting, which means that the handset is too slow or stops or something. And I guess, the rules, interpretations, they're different, have been different throughout times, different depending on where on earth you go, who referees and whatnot. But I think what I'm gonna tell here is gonna be good on most parts of the world, most referees and so on. But it is, a lot of beginners always have the question what actually is a good handset? And it's so funny because nobody really has the answer. It's sort of this you have to just look at enough of them until you know. But here's my interpretation. The ball cannot visibly come to stay still. And at the same time, I just taught you how to throw the ball, where you actually do catch the ball and send it away. I guess if you go and read the rule book real carefully, it says that every hit in beach volleyball should be a hit and not like a push. But this is sort of in between, because you're actually not hitting sometimes indoor players might have a little bit more of a hitting, like actually like throwing their fingers at the ball. But the middle ground, according to me, is this. I'm gonna try to make this in slow motion here with one hand and one ball. So the ball is coming downwards towards your hands, and you actually start moving your body, arms, whatever you use the force to get the power into the ball, towards the ball before the ball lands in your hands. Then you have some flexibility in your wrist and your fingers. So basically your arm is moving outwards before the ball comes to you, and your wrists and fingers flex down. And then the ball starts coming with upwards. Something like this in slow motion. I hope that makes sense. So, because if you actually let also your hand stand up, stay still, and then you push it, that's going to be a lift, because the ball, you can see that it's still. There is going to be a split second where the ball is still, just from the finger and wrist flexibility as well. But it's not enough for it to be called a lift. However, in the beginning, when you learn this throw technique, most probably you're gonna want to lift for a while. You're gonna want to have a period where you solely focus on not getting a double contact with a bunch of spin on the ball, and learn that softness in your fingers and this throw release. And then when you start feeling confident with that, having a not double contact but lifting, and once that starts to feel very natural and easy for you and you can repeat it over and over again, then you can start quickening the setup so that you actually don't get a lift either. But I think the trick is really to have your arms moving outwards before the ball comes to you, and then just continue outwards and have the softness in your fingers and wrists. Cool, that's about it for part 2 of the hand setting mini-series. As I said in part 1, this mini-series is sort of the lessons that help my athletes that I coach the most with hand setting. But as everything in beach volleyball, there's a lot of details, a lot of nuances, and even though I said today that, hey, it's this simple, it's funny because people tend to have all sorts of tendencies and weird stuff that they do that then makes it not so simple. And I am making a more in-depth hand setting course in addition to this mini-series. And if you want more information about that, well, I guess the start of video 1 explains a little bit about it, but also there's going to be a link below in the description. Cool. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it helps. I hope it takes away some doubles for you. And there's, as always, 3 things you can do. You can like this video on YouTube if you liked it, because that would help me a lot. You can subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this, and you can join my Facebook group where you get direct access to me and other like-minded people that also want to learn beach volleyball. It's very good for networking opportunities and meeting and discussing stuff like that, stuff like this, and also asking me questions, and maybe you have some ideas for some videos, some specific questions you want me to make a video about or something like that. So I hope you join the Facebook group, and see you later.